Welcome to a new series here that we are debuting, One Shot Stories, basically the behind the scenes of the story behind that one image in the collection of photographs that I have taken in the course of being a professional photographer for the last 15 years. That started as a family and wedding photographer, and then later on in my career with my own company and business, a corporate photographer and a travel photographer, of which, and I just had to kind of pull this out just to show you kind of the things that I've been involved with. So a lot of my travel photography has been in publications across the nation, but most of my stuff is from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, whether it's the lifestyle section, travel section. It's kind of gone through a few different name changes. And here's one from St. Louis Magazine that we did an article on and did some pictures for. But over the course of the 15 years, there's always those photos that have a story behind them that we never really get a chance to tell. And whether or not it's something specific to the image being taken, or it's the setup, or it's the everything that kind of leads up to that one image. So what I want to do on this very first episode of the series, and it'll be kind of a long running series, and for the most part, it'll be photos that are within my collection, ones that I've taken, but I do have it scheduled that for our next episode, I'm inviting a guest on, a fellow photographer, and maybe another special guest at the same time to go over an image for episode 2 of this. But today, we're going to discuss this one particular image. Now, this one here, it's about 10 years old. This was a Punta Cana travel story we did for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, STL Today. And, when you're a travel photographer, and I know there's a lot of you out there that as photographers, you're going to know the plight here. Because on one hand, you're like, being a travel photographer, what a job. And yes, it is allowed me to travel to so many different places. In the last 15 years, we have gone, literally everywhere within this country, not globally. I'm not a big global traveler. That's not really on my list of things that I want to do. But we've done a lot of things across this great country here, and then some cruises with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the travel stories that we do there. But as a travel photographer, when you take your gear with you, it's like traveling with an extra child. It's a whole nother child when you're taking your professional gear. So what I usually carry, and it's nothing even remotely new, state of the art that's been out in the last couple of years. I shoot with a Canon 5D Mark IV. I usually travel with a backpack, a photographer's backpack, where I have several lenses. I take a flash, some stands, obviously a lot of batteries, all the stuff that a photographer is going to need to take with them when they're gone on a trip for up to a week or two. And one of the drawbacks, and I know everybody's going to say, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, Brian. Boo-hoo, you're going to all these places and you're complaining about having to carry extra gear, extra equipment. And the thing is, it's literally, you're carrying around a young child with you everywhere you go. And it's very cumbersome. You can't move very quick. You really have to be in shape. And I say this and I kind of laugh about it because I don't think I've ever really been in shape. But when you photograph like weddings, anything to where you have to carry your gear around all day to where you're getting 20, 25,000 steps, with your gear on you, you got to be in somewhat good shape to do it. So one of the things about travel photography for me that I've talked to other photographers and other people that have asked me about the job is one of the things is when I go on these trips, I am so stressed out because you're always looking for the cover shot. You're always looking for that one big shot for the lead. You know, I'm just going to pull the first, case in point, the lifestyle cover here. This was upscale Branson in Missouri, top of the rock. And that's my photo there. And when you're doing these stories, you're always stressing yourself out, trying to figure out where you're going to get the one big shot, the one that's going to lead the section. And then for me, I always felt like I was kind of competing with the other pro photographers, the ones that are actually hired by the Post-Dispatch. I'm on more of a kind of a contract, I guess, or something, contracted out, or I don't know how that works. I don't work for the Post-Dispatch, but I'm submitting the photos on their behalf or what. I don't know how it works technically, but I'm always feeling like in the back of my head, I'm competing against these other big time photographers who are just absolutely fantastic, winning all these photographer awards. So when we go out on these trips, no matter what we do, and I usually go with my wife, who is the travel editor at the time when there was like an actual travel section of the paper. And you're always looking for the big shots. So you can't really relax. And no matter where you go, you're always having the need to feel like you have to take your gear with you, because the second you don't, the fear is that shot's going to appear. That shot is going to come before your eyes and you're not going to be ready, or you're not going to be able to take the shot. And I've had that happen so many times. This particular image that you're seeing, this is my example to people when I say the best camera is not the most expensive camera. The best camera is the one that you will always have on you at the ready. And usually for most of us, that's going to be your cell phone. And especially nowadays, the cameras that are on the cell phones are so good, ridiculously good, of what you can do with your cameras on a cell phone. This particular image, we're in Punta Cana. And I had decided by the end of this afternoon, I believe, that I was like, I'm leaving the stuff back in the room, and I'm just going to go out around the beach, take a look at some things, get an idea, maybe kind of scout out some areas for some nighttime shots. And so I just had my cell phone on me. And you can see they're all the tourists and everything. They're just kind of milling about. And on a speedboat heading straight for the shore, there's two fishermen that worked for I guess maybe the resort that we were in, just beelining it towards the shore. And they pull up on the sand and they get out with this gigantic, is that a swordfish? I'm not a fisherman. I don't quite know. Is that some type of swordfish? And of course, everybody kind of takes notice, because this was going to be supposedly what fish tacos that night that we were going to have. And so this young lady here approached them, and I don't know if she asked to hold it or they were trying to allow her to hold it so that, to make it this whole production, right? To show it off to everybody. And a very attractive young lady. And so they hand her this gigantic swordfish. And I come running from the background area, and I'm like, oh, the crowd that was gathering in front of her, I was like, I have got to get this shot. And I wanted the subject really, I wanted the focus to be on the people taking the photo of her holding the fish. Because I think if you think about this, as it's unfolding, as it's happening in real time, your natural inclination is to run towards the front to get a picture of her front holding the fish. I was trying to get the reaction of the crowd around her holding the fish. And you can kind of see, and this is towards the beginning. And as much as I do love this shot, again, taken with my iPhone 5, I had at the ready, had it with me all the time. This wasn't the best shot that I was trying to get. This is the best of the ones that turned out well, right? So there was an image that I shot shortly after this that I just wished that had come out better, and it didn't. But it was literally, and you can see some other ladies that are kind of leaning in, taking photos or whatever. But at one point, it's probably twice as many people, and all guys with their cameras, and the flashes just like going off like crazy. The photo did not come out. You get the idea here, but just imagine the shot that I kind of missed afterward. I just couldn't get it exposed right. But this is a great example that I like to use and tell people, because I've had people ask me, well, how do you go about getting a job like that? What kind of equipment do you need? It's the same with like podcasting and having a show on YouTube. People ask, what kind of gear do you need? How expensive? Do you need an expensive mic? Do you need expensive camera, expensive lighting? And while that can help, there's drawbacks to it as well. There's more things that can go wrong if you don't know how to use it, and you don't use it all the time, and you're having to lug all this extra stuff with you. There's drawbacks to it. If I had my main camera on me, I believe I would have missed this entire shot. Because number one, if I had my main camera on me, my 5D Mark IV, and I'm trying to think at the time, did I have the 5D Mark IV or was it the 5D Mark II? I skipped the number 3. It might have been the 5D Mark II that I had at this time. I don't know, but the big Canon. Unless I actually had it out and about, strapped to me and actively taking photos, which I was not out actively taking photos. So it would have been in my bag. By the time I would be able to swing my bag around, get the camera, the right lens that I would need, all the while trying not to kick up sand, and all that could go wrong, right? And again, this happens within a flash. This happens so quick. If I had my big boy camera stuff on me, I would have probably missed this shot. But because I have my iPhone with me, and at the time I had the iPhone 5 with me, I was able to, within a matter of probably 3 seconds, I was ready and I was shooting this image. So what is the best camera to have for a travel photographer? What's the best camera to have for insert what kind of photographer you want to be? It depends. You have to be somewhat flexible. And my thing is it nice to have the bigger cameras? Is it nice to have all the extra stuff with you? Sure, if you've got the time to set everything up and you got the time to stage things, a lot of that makes sense. When it's kind of run and shoot and you're doing a lot of action stuff, having a camera with a kind of a universal lens on you to where it kind of you're doing a little bit of long and wide all together, give you a little flexibility. When you run and gun like that, that's probably your best bet. But don't discount the fact of having just your phone and the ability to capture moments that happen so quick that anything other than your phone at the ready, you're going to miss the shot. So that's this story for our very first premiere episode of One Shot Stories. I hope you guys enjoy these. I'm going to go through my entire collection. There's so many that just kind of pop up in my head of just interesting stories behind the scenes of an image that nobody's ever heard of. But episode 2, that's going to be a fun one. We're going to have, I hope, if it all pans out, we're going to have 2 special guests on at the same time. And we're going to go over a really cool shot that has a fantastic backstory. I hope you guys like this. If you watch this, you want to see more, you got some input, you want me to do it a little differently or something. I'm trying to keep it short enough. No need to ramble on. But I think 20, 25 minutes breaking something down, if there's enough information to talk about, I think that's kind of a nice little area there. So let me know what you think. One Shot Stories just came up with it. We've done several things like it that I never really sat down to think, well, I should make that an actual series. But we've had some podcast episodes. We've had some live episodes where we talk with other photographers about images that they've taken. And it's always fascinating, the setup, the circumstances around the image. Let me know what you think. We probably won't be live all the time. I just thought I'd do this one live just to get a feel for how this would go and how we want to set it up. But keep an eye out for the next episode. All right, guys.